Hello there, welcome to Ton TV, the Greenock Morton weekly update, as sponsored by McTears the Auctioneers. In today's show, you'll get the chance to win a signed jersey in our Goal of the Month competition for February. We'll be analysing the new management team here at Capello, looking ahead to the games against Queen of the South and the cup match against Dunfermline, and I'll also be discussing one of the most contentious issues in the world of football right now. I'm doing all that in the company of Brian McLean. So Brian, as I mentioned in my introduction, all change at Morton again. The new regime coming in. How have you found, first of all, working with Gus and Andy?
Yeah, it's been refreshing right from the start. Obviously difficult circumstances. It's not easy when a new management comes in, because on the flip side someone's got to sort of take that step back. But yeah, it's been refreshing. They've simplified everything. They've not changed anything drastically too quickly, which has been good, allowing the lads to get to know them as much as them getting to know us. And yeah, it's just a case of we don't have time on our hands. We don't have a pre-season to get to know one another, so it's a case of hitting the ground running and picking up points immediately.
But Gus, it's a bit like you. You've been around the game a fair bit of time. Have your paths crossed before?
Not crossed as such, but there was opportunities there for me to go and sign for St Mirren when he was there, which I decided to go a different avenue. So thankfully, I don't think that's going to cause any issues. But
well, we signed St Mirren players for St Mirren players.
Well, yeah, exactly. So at least in that respect, I knocked them back, shall we say?
Let's talk about that actually. Stephen coming into the setup very, very quickly. He had a whirlwind 24 hours trying to get used to the pace at Dunfermline. When did you first meet him?
I just met him on the bus when we were travelling to the game. I know of him as a player. I know his brother quite well, played with him at Hibs. So yeah, I mean it's a good addition to the squad for sure. And he'll bring a lot of ability and composure in that central area.
We've talked before about your role changing at the club, as it has done throughout the season. You're still one of the experienced pros, still Uncle Bry to a lot of the guys in there. I'd imagine part of that role is to welcome Stephen into the squad and make it just a wee bit easier to bed in.
Yeah, I mean, just because I'm one of the older players, I don't think that makes me the sort of designated person to do that. If there is something that he definitely needs, then for sure I'll help. But I mean, there's an onus on every player in the dressing room to make every newcomer welcome. It was the exact same for Kaz coming in, and Justin as well. That was difficult circumstances coming in midway through a season when the sort of managerial background team weren't sort of in place at that point as well. So it's not just about myself making people feel welcome, and it's about the dressing room pulling together and making sure that he knows when he's in here to do a job, and we're in here to pick up points. We're not here to mess about, and ultimately it's a results-driven business, and we need to start winning games first and foremost.
Well, that is what I was going to go into next. We need to look at the Dunfermline game. Tricky opening, great save by Aiden for the penalty, and then losing the goal. But it was a really, really tight game, wasn't it?
Yeah, there wasn't a great deal between the two sides. I felt the game was there for us to take, and maybe it was off the back of the game on Tuesday night, the emotions, because we were so invested in that game to make sure that we had 3 points going down the road, that we kind of just sort of lacked that little bit of punch, little bit of composure, just being able to take a breath in the final third to release that little bit of quality that was needed. We did create opportunities, there was chances there. Kaz had one especially in the second half. He could have went down, I don't really know, but at the same time he could have pulled the trigger a lot quicker. So yeah, I mean, there is opportunities there, but I think what you will see with the new manager and Andy coming in, that we will have a little bit more impetus, a little bit more composure in that last third. If it's not on, then we will recycle the ball and try and break them down the other side or what have you. So we won't be in such a rush to try and get a shot off or to try and get a cross when we're not set to cross it, and we end up hitting the first man. I think that's the biggest thing this week. that I've noticed that he is encouraging players to take that breath before we execute a pass or a cross or a shot or whatever.
I was going to say a couple of big games coming up, but I mean they're all big games just now, aren't they? But let's kick off first of all with Queen of the South on Saturday. Tight games this season. Do you anticipate another such game?
Absolutely. I think every game's going to be a cup final for us, and we shouldn't look any further beyond that. I know we've got a game midweek, but our full focus again should be on Queen of the South, just like how it was against Inverness. We put that poor performance and result to bed, and we were fully invested in the performance against Inverness. We all knew our roles and our responsibilities. Obviously, with the transition going into the Dunfermline game, it was a little bit shorter time frame for the turnaround, but we've had a good week behind us. We've had a great training sessions Monday, Tuesday. We'll have another good session today, and then we'll be ready to fly on Saturday morning. And it's almost like putting all your eggs in one basket as such. We've got to make sure that we perform. If you perform on Saturday, then the 3 points will come inevitably, but ultimately you need to look at yourself in the mirror. You need to make sure that you're doing your job for your teammate and for your club, and the results will follow, I'm sure. Because
this is the yo-yo nature of this league, isn't it? I mean, the last time we played Queen of the South at home, we got the result, pushed us up, they were going down, then they hit a run, and then Arbroath hit a run. We've had a run, but now we're looking to get back on a run. 3 points, like you say, you're up the table and suddenly you're talking playoffs.
Yeah, but I mean, I hate that word playoffs. That playoffs is a byproduct of good performances and good results. First and foremost, you have good performances that will get you good results, and then good results will give you that platform to kick on again. So, I mean, throughout my whole career, I've never ever focused on anything other than the next game at hand. If you get a massive cup final next week, it's always the next game at hand, because you're always judged on your last game. So you want to make sure that your last game is the best one that can possibly be. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the campaign, it's the craziest season I've ever been involved in. None more so than the turnaround in coaches and management here.
Sure.
But I've said it in previous interviews with you, like the dressing room is so strong in there that we've kept the wheels turning, where opportunities could have allowed us to take their foot off the gas and use different elements as excuses. But the dressing room in there they're very tight knit. The signing as well, with Stephen coming in, Kaz performing now, Justin's trying to get there as well. So we're all sort of putting in the effort, and it's up to us to continue that and have that belief that we are going to win games and score goals. And ultimately on Saturday we're at home. Like the last time we went at home was Queen of South 2-0, which seems a decade ago. So we need to sort of reinforce that Capello atmosphere and how hard it is for teams to come here and make it a battle, making sure that they're not going to have an easy afternoon. When they come down here, they're going to be in a game and they'll know all about it come the final whistle.
I don't know about a lively dressing room, but we've certainly got a lively kitchen next door, so apologies.
Busy.
Apologies for that. Coming through, we can't help that. Yes, okay, we know the focus is on the league, we've talked about that, but the cup coming up on Tuesday night against Dunfermline. First of all, is it going to be a like-for-like performance, you think, from Dunfermline? And secondly, this is a tough one, Brian, but how do you view the cup? Is it an important thing this season, really, or are we really more focused on the league situation?
It's a game of football. I think every game of football is important. Whether it's in the Betfred, whether it's in the Scottish, whether it's in the league, I think it creates an opportunity for other players that haven't been able to get that game time. But at the same time, we're in a position where it's 7 games left or something like that. So you want to pick up momentum. So if you can start putting 2 or 3 wins together, like other teams in and around us have been, then that you can use that as fuel to kick on and transmit that performance and energy into your league campaign. So every game is important the way I see it. And I'm sure the boys will understand that as well come that Tuesday night. But I'll go back to one game at a time. Let's take care of Saturday first.
Certainly going to be an intriguing end to the season, there's no two doubts about that. Brian, one of the issues I really wanted to discuss with you today, and I know it's kind of dear to your heart because you gave an excellent interview in the local press a few weeks ago.
It's only dear to my heart because I might end up with it.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't want to go down that road, but of course we're all having to come to terms with this now in the world of football. Gordon McLean is the latest former player to come out. I mean, McLean's a player from my generation. I remember him, a towering figure, scored vital goals, scored a goal for Scotland down at Wembley that, you know, I've never ever forgotten. He was featured for Leeds, Man U. He had a brilliant career, and yet now we're hearing this coming out about dementia. Now, you've talked quite openly about concussion in the game. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, really.
Yeah, it's obviously there within the game. You see it up and down the country across all levels. And I think with the new law that's coming into play, then it takes that emotion, that adrenaline out of the equation for the player and for the management, because, I mean, we're living in the middle of a pandemic, so it's all about health and well-being for everybody, whether you're a footballer or whether you're an office worker or a key worker, especially. But I mean, the good thing is that we are generating awareness. I mean, you just don't know, because I could end up with dementia through, even if I didn't play, sort of thing. So the good thing is that we are trying to create that awareness. We are trying to do things to sort of heighten that awareness, as I keep talking about. But I mean, with the PFA in Scotland especially, they're helping fund a research group called Field that are trying to do a study across a certain age group through the sort of 70s, 80s to try and find if there is any sort of correlation between heading, playing football and dementia, as well as other sort of mental health issues as well. So yeah, I mean, it is good that we are creating awareness, because it's definitely there. I've been concussed myself during games, and I've been so driven to get back on the pitch that you don't think about the after effects. I don't think anybody really thinks about the after effects until it's too late. And essentially, like, I'm a dad of two, so these are the guys, when you go home, these are the guys that are going to be picking you up when you're not at your best, when things happen to you, when you get injured. So it has a massive impact on the people in and around you away from football, just as much as on the park and the people in the dressing room.
I suppose we look at it in terms of, you know, your kids, if they play the game, if they take up the game, then it's going to be a completely different format for kids not being able to head the ball. I mean, 20 years from now, we could be talking about a completely different game of football.
Totally. I mean, one of the drills that I used to do at Murray Park when I was 16 was about timing of headers. So Bomber would just batter the ball up into the skies, and you would be sort of trying to guess where it would land and then try and get your head on it. Then you come off the pitch another 3 inches smaller. So I mean, that's the way the game's going. There's so much detail and so much evidence based as well, hence why the PFA are backing the sort of research group with Field to go down that route, to have sort of evidence based data to back it up. So yeah, I mean, it's creating awareness is the biggest thing at this present moment in time.
Brian, as always, fascinating to chat to you. We always have good conversations in the weekly update. Good luck at the weekend. Good luck with the cup as well, and thanks for joining us today.
No problem, pleasure.
And thank you for joining us as well. We'll go out today with the Goal of the Month competition for February and your chance to win a signed jersey. Thanks for joining us on the Greenock Morton weekly update, as sponsored by McTears, the auctioneers.
nativity, is that right? Is that the right word?
Is that not Christmas? Oh no, that's nativity.
No,
I beg your
that's
pardon. No,
nativity.
naivety. I think is the word.
Naivety, there you go. Thanks, Jerry. You should have went down quicker to get the foul quicker, that's what I meant.
Drops it.
Yeah.
McGuffey! It's a wonderful strike! The ball comes down from Strap. Craig McGuffey, the hero last week at Tynecastle, gets it onto the left foot, volleys it into the corner. It's another contender for the goal of the month from Craig McGuffey, and it has been coming, Andy. Morton 1, Dundee 0.
Ah, it's a fantastic goal, fantastic strike again, you know, that's... But we said at the up of the programme, Jerry, about that left peg of his, it's been knocked down brilliantly there. What a smashing finish. You'll not see many better goals like that today, Jerry.
Picks it up, comes across the halfway line. That chip ball over to Orsi. He's not going to reach it though. He does well, Calvin Orsi. Gets it, drops it into the path of McGuffey. McGuffey onto his left foot, tries to play across the header from Colville. It's into the back of the net! Wonderful breakaway play from Morton. Craig McGuffey from goal scorer to provider. Luca Colville comes across the defence, knocks the ball into the bottom of the net, and it's now Morton 2, Dundee 1.
Yeah, you've come alive after the Dundee's equaliser. What a great passage of play that was, Jerry. They're Calvin Orsi doing really well to keep the move going. Craig McGuffey having a look at what a ball in like that. Yeah, smart header down into the box. Goalkeeper.
If you would like to enter our Goal of the Month competition, then it's never been easier. Simply make your choice and then send it to media@gmfc.net with your name, full address and a contact number. You could win yourself a home jersey signed by the winning goal scorer. So, get choosing, get typing and get lucky.